Welcome into MASN All Access, brought to you by the Maryland Lottery, celebrating 50 years of fun and games. Paul Mancano joined by Brendan Mortensen here, and Brendan, our task today will be to reveal the first part of our countdown of the top 50 players in the Orioles system. It's going to be a season-long project for us, and we're going to reveal 10 names today, ranked by you and I.
Yeah, and it says a lot about the farm system that Mike Elias and company have constructed here in Baltimore. The fact that we have some really good players ranked 50 to 41 is a lot of fun.
Yeah, so this is just going to be the first section of this, and without further ado, let's take a look at numbers 50 to 41 that we have on this list. And we want to reiterate that this list is only our current ranking of these players, not what they can be in the future and not what they have been in the past. This is just looking at this season. So let's start with number 50 there. We got John Rhodes, one of the Orioles' top 30 prospects. We got Judd Fabian, Max Wagner, Dylan Beavers, three members of the 2022 Orioles draft class. Cesar Prieto, currently in AA Bowie. Seth Johnson is recovering from Tommy John surgery. Chase McDermott off to a great start as well in the minor leagues. Noah Denoyer, Ryan Watson, and Jackson Holliday, the number one overall pick. Brendan, you look at those three names, 49 through 47. These are three guys that we got to spend some time with down in Aberdeen. Three guys with very high ceilings. They're just a ways away from the big leagues right now.
Yeah, three well-established college bats. In Judd Fabian, you have some experience in the SEC playing at Florida. Max Wagner in the ACC playing at Clemson. And then Dylan Beavers playing at Cal. All three of those guys could be pretty quick risers, and they're having some pretty good success so far in Aberdeen. Max Wagner struggling a little bit, but Judd Fabian and Dylan Beavers especially showing off why they are a part of the Orioles' top 30 prospects.
Yeah, Dylan Beavers was the highest drafted of all three of those, 33rd overall in the 2022 draft, and this is a guy that's currently tinkering with his swing a little bit because it needed some work during the offseason. He got some work in, and now he is trying it out to some pretty good success so far in High A Aberdeen. And Brendan, we know that ballpark in Aberdeen is a pitcher's park, so we may see some deflated numbers from these guys. But Beavers has quite a lot of power from the left side.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the swing for Beavers a little bit funky, and he is still tweaking with it. But we were watching him in batting practice, Paul, and even in a pitcher's park like there is in Aberdeen, Dylan Beavers was still hitting balls a really, really long way for home runs in batting practice. Really encouraging from the Cal product.
You got to talk to Judd Fabian, a guy who was drafted twice. Once in 2021 by the Boston Red Sox, did not sign, and then again in 2022 by the Baltimore Orioles, really the team that he wanted to end up with all along.
Yeah, he thought that he was going to be selected by the Orioles in that 2021 draft, sees his name pop up on the TV, and it's not for the team that he was expecting. It's with the Boston Red Sox, but then, of course, ends up with the organization that he was hoping to end up with all along last year in the Orioles, and Fabian clearly very excited to be a part of this organization.
And Max Wagner, you mentioned his early season struggles. He's currently hitting below 100 at the moment, but this is a guy who won ACC Player of the Year for Clemson, started the season coming off the bench, then ended up hitting close to 30 home runs in college.
Yeah, his upside is going to really be dependent on the bat, so we're hoping that the bat comes along there for Max Wagner. Pretty solid defender at third base, but he said that the Orioles have also been working him around the diamond a little bit. He's gotten some time at second base and first base as well, so it'll be interesting to see where Wagner ends up defensively as he moves along throughout his career.
And then one more guy who is at the top of that ranking there, Jackson Holliday. Again, this is a guy that has the highest ceiling of maybe anybody in the Orioles organization right now as the number one overall pick. But it's difficult for us to rank him ahead of current big leaguers just because he has a ways to go. He's not even in High A Aberdeen with some of his counterparts because he was taken out of high school. He's still in Single A Delmarva. But one guy that we could see rise up very quickly, Brian.
Yeah, if we were ranking based on potential, Jackson Holliday would almost certainly be in the top 10 in the entire organization. But this is just a 19-year-old kid. It's hard to put him much higher than 41st. Even 41st at this point is a pretty high ranking for somebody who's only 19 years old, has not gotten much of a taste of professional baseball yet.
So there is our 41 through 50. There is more to our show, however, as this is part of just a season-long project. as the Maryland Lottery celebrates its 50th year. And each game, a Maryland Lottery Fast Play Home Run Riches contestant of the game is selected. The contestant of the game wins $500 from the Maryland Lottery just for being selected, then an additional $500 for each Orioles home run that game. And to commemorate the Maryland Lottery's 50th anniversary, the contestant of the game, when an Oriole hits the 50th home run of the 2023 season, will win $50,000, and a second $50,000 will be awarded to someone who enters the contest in a special drawing to be held in August. For a chance to be selected as a Fast Play Home Run Riches contestant of the game, enter Fast Play Home Run Riches game tickets into My Lottery Rewards. Visit mdlottery.com/homerun for details. So an exciting rollout as we begin the countdown here. And one guy who was not listed there is Freddie Bencomo, but he is one of the Orioles' top 30 prospects according to MLB Pipeline. When we were down in Aberdeen, I had the chance to catch up with the infielder. Here in Aberdeen with Orioles infield prospect Freddie Bencomo. Freddie, thanks so much.
Thanks for the opportunity.
So let's go back to when you signed out of the Dominican Republic back in August 2020. Why so late in the signing period did you sign with the Orioles, and what attracted you to the Orioles? What made you sign with Baltimore?
Yeah, I was ready. I was 16 years old, and I have too many teams interested for me. And some scouts, I remember Francisco Rosario, he worked from Seattle, and Geraldo Cabrera for the Mets. And they saw me when I was 16 years old, and they now work for the Orioles. And they saw me in December 2019, and I did a great job. And then they called me in January 2020, and they say, "Oh, you signed with the Orioles," and I was so excited. And then the pandemic started, and I signed in August 2020.
Gotcha. You've gotten up here very quickly. How has your experience in Aberdeen been so far? Are you having fun with the group of guys here?
Yeah. There is a lot of good teammates: Dylan Beavers, Max Wagner, Joe Fabian. Beavers is a clown. Yeah. So it's a good experience here, having some fun. And, it's high levels. We need to get ready for whatever happens.
And you can play shortstop, third base, second base. Do you have a favorite of those positions, or do you feel the best at any one of those positions?
Yeah, my favorite one is shortstop. I want to be shortstop, but I can play third base, second base, but I feel more comfortable with shortstop.
Gotcha. And we've heard the nickname, I've seen it on Twitter, Freddie. Where did that nickname come from, and how did you adopt it?
Yeah, it is that because I use that legendary on Instagram every post. And Anthony Villa, the hitting coach, he had my name with legendary, and he said, "Okay, you're Freddie now."
I love it. And you've gotten another nickname from Matt Blood, Big Goals. How did you get that nickname from Matt Blood?
I remember he was in the last year in the complex, and he asked me, "What is your goals for this year?" And I said, my first goal for spring training is I want to play in few games in every spring training." And I remember when he saw me in the first game in MLB spring training, he told me, "Hey, you here? Big goals."
That's awesome. Well, what are your goals now that spring training is over, now that you're into the regular season? What kind of goals do you have for the rest of the season?
Control the zone, working the swing decision, hit hard. That's the Orioles like it. And good defense, I'm working hard with that. And, just have fun, enjoy the game every day, and let's see what happens.
Seems like it's easy to enjoy the game every day with the group of guys that you have right here. So thank you, Freddie, and we'll get Freddie trending on Twitter.
Thank you.
Just 20 years old, Freddie Bencomo, talented player with a bright future. Don't forget about the MASN All Access podcast. The two of us host this weekly. You can listen to it on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. and watch it each week on Facebook, YouTube, the MASN app, and MASNsports.com. On our most recent episode, Brendan, we talked a little bit about what we learned through the first 3 weeks of the season. So a good conversation to catch up there. And as for our top 50 players in the Orioles system, Brendan, next week we could see some even higher ranked prospects on this list. Maybe the likes of a Joey Ortiz, a Heston Kjerstad when we get into the 30s.
Yeah, which is really exciting considering it's still pretty far down the list, but we're talking about some top 100 prospects. We're getting pretty close to the big leagues, so really fun that we can talk about those guys so far down the list. It's a lot of talent in this organization.
Absolutely. At Brendan Morty is his Twitter handle. At Paul Mancano. Please let us know what you think of these rankings. If we're way off, don't hold back. Just let us know on Twitter as well and in the comments wherever you are watching this. And of course, MASN All Access is brought to you by the Maryland Lottery, celebrating 50 years of fun and games. Thanks to Amy Jennings for producing this. We'll catch you next time